Over the years, I've created so much content around how to step your kid through technology, as in giving more freedom over time and helping them learn how to use it in a healthy manner. Today, I'm talking about the flip side of that coin. Many of us are currently in what is considered the sandwich generation, where we are not only helping our own children, but we're also helping our aging parents. Instead of giving more and more freedom on technology, we find ourselves needing to add more and more restrictions to our parents' technology. It feels a little like a role reversal, and it can be extremely uncomfortable to navigate and discuss with your family. Today, we're talking about how to spot the red flags that a parent needs tech boundaries, how to approach this conversation without bruising their dignity, and practical ways to co-manage their life. So let's get right into today's episode. The first thing we need to figure out is what are the warning signs that this conversation actually needs to happen? My grandma was extremely smart. She was a judge in Orange County for decades. However, as she aged, her cognitive abilities began to decline. The natural aging process, coupled with the sheer pace of technology advancements, can make even the smartest seniors a target for attackers. Or it can just cause them to become really frustrated. So here are some red flags that we should watch out for. First up, we've got financial anomalies. So multiple small, strange charges on credit cards or in their bank account from sketchy website or tech support companies could be a huge red flag. If you don't have access yet to their banking information, maybe ask them if their computer is working well. If they say, oh no, I ended up calling this tech support, etc., then you can kind of get to the bottom of that. Or another way to suss this out is you could be telling them that you need to go to the store to get some gift cards or wire some money and ask if they've ever needed to buy gift cards or wire money to anybody. Framing it like, oh, I don't even know how to wire money. Like, have you done this before? How do you do it? And then you can kind of gauge if they have fallen for a couple of really common scams where they're going to be wiring money to somebody or buying gift cards to send the numbers to somebody. So both of these very, very common scams that seniors fall for these days. And so that can kind of suss that out without outright accusing them or being confrontational about the topic. The other one, which you might recognize from your kids' behavior, but that's secretive behavior. When you walk into a room, do they close the laptop really quick or put their phone away? They might be embarrassed about something that they are falling for. The back of their mind thinks, okay, this probably isn't legit. This might be something I should be embarrassed about. Any type of behavior where they're being really secretive or hiding different devices or hiding their activity. Another thing to look out for is an inundation of spam emails. So they could have malware pop-ups too, or text message scams. So they might have a lot of this incoming spam. Again, if you don't already have access, because we're going to have this conversation about needing to get access to this device. So we got to watch for the red flags before we even have this access. What you could do is complain about the pop-ups that you get or the spam that you're getting. Oh, I'm getting so many text messages from strangers, and then just kind of phrase it as a commiseration where you're talking about things that can happen. I'm getting a lot of pop-ups. I'm getting a lot of spam. I'm getting a lot of text messages. So as you frame it that way, they're like, oh yeah, me too. I get like 10 a day. And then you're like, okay, that's a red flag. Another thing to watch out for is the increase in frequency that they have to call you for tech support on something. So let's say they generally go about their business and call you once a month or once a week. And then now all of a sudden they're calling you every day for something, for help with some sort of technology problem. So if that frequency starts to increase, it might be time to have this conversation. Now, there is a difference between just forgetting their password. I even forget my password occasionally. I've hit that forget password link one too many times because I don't use the same password for every platform. And so it's easy to forget your password. There's a difference between that and somebody who's actively falling for a scam or can't discern scams from reality. So you know your parents better than anyone else. So just be aware of the change in type of requests or frequency of requests. So now that we've gotten some red flags, we want to have this conversation with our parents. What do we do? How do we approach this conversation? The worst thing you could do is to swoop in, change all the passwords, and treat them like a child. They are your parent. They're going to feel a certain way about you coming in and treating them like a child. So if you do approach it that way, it's just going to breed resentment and probably will backfire on you. So instead, we're going to shift the blame of this to the attackers and to the bad actors. And we're not going to blame their capability or their knowledge or anything like that. We're just going to say something like, man, the scammers out there have gotten so advanced at even with AI, I almost fell for one yesterday. I just want to help make sure that you have things in place where we can catch anything before any real damage is done. So, frame it as these guys are getting pretty good. And even I have fallen for some types of scams or almost fallen for some types of scams. It's very hard to tell these days. And that's how you can frame it. There's a lot of people out there who might want to do harm to an aging senior. So you want to just frame it in that context. So again, you're not placing blame on your parent. You're just placing the blame on the bad actors. So here's a few talking points that you could have. First, we're going to frame it like the IT department approach. So you're going to position yourself as their personal tech support, not their warden, right? We're going to say, hey, I know a lot about this stuff. It's easy for me because I am an IT manager. So it's, hey, I can be your IT manager. I will help you out. This is, my job, basically. But for those of you who are not an IT manager, you're just going to position yourself as their own personal tech support, not their warden. So the one way that you can, say, hey, I'm not here to take over. So let's share the passwords together. So I'm going to have the password to your password manager maybe and set you up with a password management tool. And then I will also have access to that password management tool. Or we can set up banking alerts that will alert not only you, but also me, so that we're both in this together and we're going to kind of have some checks and balances in place where nothing you do is going to get by me, basically, because we are in this together. So the next thing you would want to talk about is setting some boundaries. So let's say they are on the computer and they get a pop-up that their computer has a virus. Okay, we're going to tackle that together. Don't call any support. Don't install whatever they're trying to make you install on that pop-up. You just call me. Anytime you run into something where it doesn't feel exactly right or it's trying to scare you, you're going to call me and we're going to suss out if it is a legitimate request. So I am a child of the 80s, and in the 80s, for some reason, everyone was terrified of kidnappers in white vans giving out candy, right? So we would create a password among the family where if somebody comes to say they're picking you up for your parent, then you ask them for the password. If they don't have the password, don't go with them, right? Hopefully everybody remembers those scenarios. Maybe you still implement that today, where if somebody's trying to pick you up, and most of the time the schools have people who are allowed to pick kids up in their system. So it's not as much of a problem these days, I would imagine. But we established these passwords so that we wouldn't get kidnapped. We're going to do the same thing with our parents. So we're going to create a secret password, just like your parents did, to make sure you didn't get kidnapped, but this time it's going to work in the reverse. So let's say I am calling you, and it's really an AI scammer calling you saying that I have been in a car accident. You're going to ask them for the password, and if they don't know the password, it's not actually me. So create this password where we're not scared of guys in white vans anymore. Now we're scared of attackers online, and especially with AI, they can mimic anybody's voice. So create a password that will help you guys know that, yes, this is legitimately me talking to you. And then another way to have a really good conversation about this and to kind of get your handle on everything that is happening on the network, again, without being accusatory, is to set up a tech cheat sheet together. So I have a whole video about what should be included in this tech cheat sheet. Go ahead and watch that video, download the template, and you can walk through that together. Okay, what is your internet service provider? What is the passwords to these different tools? So, because you're going to write it all down for them. And in the meantime, as you're writing it all down for them, you also now have access to those accounts and passwords so that you can help them manage it when they forget it in the future. So let's talk about some tools that you can use in order to help facilitate all of this. So obviously, the first thing that we're going to talk about is a password management tool. I used Dashlane. I have used other password tools in the past, but Dashlane has kind of become my favorite. I use Dashlane personally, but there's several other password management tools out there that you could sign up for. You don't have to take my word for it, but that's just the one that I use. So set up a family plan where you have emergency access to their password management tool, and then you should be able to get into their banking, their email, all of the other accounts that they might need you to have access to. So most banking systems will also allow you to set up alerts. So you can set up an alert that goes to your email address for any purchases over a certain dollar amount or other types of alerts. So you can go ahead and set those up with them so that you're both notified, because maybe you want to tell them, hey, if somebody gets your credit card number and they make a large purchase, you'd want to know about that as well. So set up an alert that alerts both of you. And again, it's this, we're in this together and we're going to get through this together. Another thing you can do is simplify the technology in their homes. So if a PC is kind of overwhelming, maybe switch that out for a Chromebook or even a tablet. Because if all they do is browse the internet or watch videos or things like that, then they don't necessarily need an entire PC for it. Maybe they'd be fine with a tablet or with a device that you can set up kind of parental controls on. And then maybe if they have a phone and a computer and a few other technology, maybe simplify, okay, what technology do you use the most and what are you going to get the most benefit out of, and try and narrow down the scope of their technology access. If they do want to stick with a computer or something else that might have some ads that might pop up, go ahead and install some ad blockers or spam filters on their email, just making sure that you're getting through all of the junk that might come. So setting up their Gmail account where it's going to separate the other items into other things and just tell them to worry about the inbox and don't check the other folders or anything like that. So just kind of try and simplify what they have access to make it easier for them and less of an access point for any scammers or attackers. In addition to those ad blockers or spam filters, you might want to install something on their phone where only phone numbers that are contacts are getting through, or if it's going to try and weed out most of the spam calls or notify the person when a spam call is coming through. So there's a few things on the phone itself that you can try and weed out those spam texts and those spam calls. So you can set up an identity theft tool like OmniWatch to help you be notified if anything gets created, like a credit card account in their name or anything like that. So you want to have an identity theft type of tool that's going to help monitor their identity in real time on the web. If you do want 50% off your first month, you can use code family at omniwatch.com. This is not sponsored, but I would get some money if you do use my code to purchase that. Go ahead and check out OmniWatch. But you can use any type of identity theft tool in order to make sure that their information is secured and to give you assistance if something does happen to their identity. And then finally, you want to set up some remote control software on their computer. If they do still have like a PC, set up something like TeamViewer, because that way, anytime they're having a problem with their PC, you can log into that computer remotely and they don't have to try and go to a website, try and log into something. You just have immediate access to the computer without them having to do anything. So setting up something like TeamViewer is going to be really helpful, especially if you don't live close to them and you don't have time to go to their house to check out what is going on their computer. So those are some tools that you can use in order to kind of help keep them safe. So when is it time to just kind of take the keys away from them completely? We've talked about throughout the most of this of trying to work through it together, because this is kind of where you are in the early stages of that, where you're just going to be kind of managing it together. But at some point, it might get to the point that you have to kind of take away their access. You may have to go a legal route by doing a power of attorney and gaining control over their finances. You should be able to tell when that is approaching. So they've fallen for a couple scams. You've caught it in time, but at some point you're going to say, okay, at this point, it's dangerous for you to keep going. And so that's the time where you're going to have to virtually take the keys away from them and manage it on your own. So digital independence isn't all or nothing. It's about keeping our parents connected to the world they love while building basically a digital firewall around them. So this week, I've got a challenge for you. I'm going to start doing a challenge every week, and I would love to hear in the comments. I publish this as a YouTube video, and I also publish this on podcast platforms. So if you want to leave a review and comment with your challenge success, or if you just want to hop over to the YouTube video and leave a comment there about how you approached this weekly challenge. I probably will also post the weekly challenge on social media, so you could also comment there. But today's weekly challenge is going to be check in on your parents' primary device this week. So don't snoop, just ask them to show you a cool video or article they found. You could also use the excuse that you recently discovered a way to help make their device faster, and you can perform some maintenance tasks as well, but you're also kind of looking for pop-ups or spam notifications or anything else that kind of seems amiss on their device. And you can just use the excuse of you're just helping make their device faster. So you can also clear out some of the unused storage and clean things up, perform actual maintenance on it. But while you're doing that, you can also snoop around a little bit. So that's your weekly challenge, or maybe even just start having this conversation with your parent. But just check in on their technology use this week and let me know how it goes for you. So don't forget to subscribe, share this with a friend who is also caring for an aging parent, and check out our resource guide in the show notes about how to secure a senior's device. It's going to give you a lot more details on how to go about that after you've had this initial conversation with them. So stepping in is an act of love and protection, not control. So make sure you approach it in that way. As always, I'm here to give you all of the tech information that you need so that you can go and live your life. And until next week, Family Tech powering down.